Ladies and gentlemen, Fourth and Trollers, welcome back to Fourth and Troll Fantasy, the most entertaining fantasy football podcast on the planet. I'm Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And we have got a show for you guys today. We are 1 week away, just over 7 days from NFL kickoff. And you know what that means? It means that you are probably heading into fantasy draft weekend. That's right. You have probably 5, 6, 7, 8 mock drafts sometime this week. And it's going to be a lot of fun. But we are doing our final mock draft of the season with you guys today. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited. Wes, how's it going?
I'm great. I mean, we've always been counting down the days, but for us and what we do here on Fourth and Troll, this is our last week with one episode for the week, and we go into our regular season grind, and I am so excited for the Lions at the Chiefs. I am pumped, and I've got, I think, 3 or 4 drafts in the next couple of days, so I'm also very, very excited for this. Noah, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, dude. I also have, I mean, you and I have a draft together. We have our Trollers League draft next week on Tuesday, I believe. That's going to be a lot of fun. I got a couple others. It is draft season for fantasy football, and that means we are this much closer to the NFL season. We're going to have a blast today. We're going to do a mock draft. It's going to be a lot of fun. Before we do that, though, while you're here, make sure you're following us on all the social media below. Subscribe, ring that bell. Drop a comment before we get into the mock drafts. Let us know who you think is going to have the better team, what your draft strategy is. Let us know and follow along as we go. React to the picks. It's going to be a good time. Special announcement, though, because while I'm talking about social media, make sure you are especially following us on social media. Just extra incentive, because you're going to want to be some of the first to know about some Fourth and Troll fantasy merch. That's right. We got it coming soon. So make sure you follow us on social media. All our socials will be announcing them there. It's going to be a fun time. We got some fun stuff planned for you guys. It's going to be a blast. Before we jump into the news, let's real quick just have a word from our sponsor. This show is sponsored by FQ Media Group. FQ is a media production company specializing in podcast production that empowers others to share their voice with their audience. For more information, check out fqmediagroup.com. Now, Wes, take us to the news, baby, because we got some stuff to talk about as we close out the preseason and are one step closer to the regular season. What's going on?
I so badly wanted to go into this episode with some announcement about Jonathan Taylor, but this episode, as you're all familiar with, is released bright and early on Tuesday, and as of now, we have no new information about Jonathan Taylor. Now, just to recap what's going on, because it's up to you to pay attention to what's going on with him. We, of course, will react to it whenever that happens. But right now, we know the sources have stated that the Colts are hoping for a first or maybe second day pick, maybe a first multiple second day pick, meaning second or third rounders in exchange for Jonathan Taylor. We know there are multiple teams interested. We've heard some buzz around the Broncos, Bears, maybe the Eagles, maybe the Vikings, but we know for certain the Miami Dolphins have made a serious offer. Keep your eyes peeled. That will absolutely change everything. So just to clear that up too, because as we're going to get into our mock draft, Jonathan Taylor is an Indianapolis Colt still, and that'll affect how we view him as we get into the mock draft in a couple of minutes here. Okay, so biggest trade of this season, it feels like, since Aaron Rodgers. The 49ers traded Trey Lance to the Dallas Cowboys for a 4th-round pick. There is no threat to Dak Prescott, but they finally made that decision because before that news was announced, Kyle Shanahan said that Sam Darnold is the official backup quarterback to Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy is the absolute clear number 1 starter. So if anyone wants to read into Sam Darnold what that means, go right ahead. But Trey Lance is there in the Lone Star State. Big news. Josh Jacobs signed a 1-year deal with the Las Vegas Raiders. That was finally cleared out. And Noah and I here on Fourth and Troll will take full credit for that because we tweeted with the Fourth and Troll account to some Raiders beat writers, hey, what's the deal? Are we going to draft Josh Jacobs or is he holding out? And literally the next day he signs with the Raiders. So you're welcome. We'll take full credit. Never been wrong. Hashtag never been wrong. Baker Mayfield was announced officially as the starter for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. However, their starting center, Ryan Jensen, will be out for the entire season. They already have a weak offensive line. And on top of that, Baker Mayfield is the starter. Noah, I don't think you're going to have to dye your hair blonde. I think you're going to be okay. That bet is going to be safe. Speaking of starters, making one last announcement, they officially decided for the Houston Texans that C.J. Stroud will be the starter week 1. There was still no confirmation, nothing to be determined between him and Davis Mills, so they decided after that last preseason game, especially C.J. Stroud. And speaking of quarterbacks, the Arizona Cardinals announced that Kyler Murray will officially begin the season on the PUP list, which means he will miss at least 4 games this year. Interestingly, though, shortly after they made that announcement, the Cardinals released Colt McCoy. And earlier they had traded for Josh Dobbs, who maybe you remember, as we talked about last episode, that he played in place of Ryan Tannehill for the Tennessee Titans. He just might be their week 1 starter. So keep that in mind for your Cardinals players on your teams and the effect that has on Kyler Murray. Jerry Jeudy was carted off the practice field on Thursday with a hamstring injury. It doesn't seem to be too serious, but he is expected to miss several weeks. Also, Jackson Smith-Njigba had a wrist surgery and is questionable for week 1. His timeline is about 3 weeks. I think we talked about that last time as well. Terry McLaurin suffered some turf toe on the Monday preseason last week. He's still questionable. And Cooper Kupp is ready for week 1. He should be fine. And I meant repeating news. I feel like I'm repeating some of these things. No, am I just going crazy?
I don't
already
think so.
say some of this last week.
I think we've talked about it a little bit,
Okay.
but we're getting some final word now. Is what we're hearing for a lot of these guys. Just
Okay,
people to keep
thank
an eye
you.
on,
I thought
stuff
I was
like that.
going insane.
No, you're good.
Thank
dude.
you for making sure I'm not.
Tell me
I
about
don't need to
DJ
be
Chark.
locked in an asylum or something. Okay, so DJ Chark. Hey, DJ Chark has suffered a hamstring injury. There's no timeline exactly on what's going to happen with him, but for those that are interested in how the Panthers receivers play out, just keep that in mind. As obviously Bryce Young is going to be the starter. Adam Thielen, you watch that final preseason game with Adam Thielen and Bryce Young. They're looking sharp. Last bit of news, Corey Davis decided to just retire suddenly. No explanation, just decided that's it for me, which means that Mecole Hardman and Randall Cobb have the opportunity to start as the wide receiver 3 behind Garrett Wilson and Allen Lazard. Just keep that in mind, knowing that Rodgers' connection with Randall Cobb has been pretty significant, seeing them walk out of Lambeau Field arm in arm for the last time in Green Bay. And the last little bit of news here, just something to keep in mind, in the midst of the roster cuts to get to the 53-man roster, the Colts actually did decide to release Kenyon Drake, and the Giants released James Robinson. So something to keep in mind, especially for the Colts, given where JT may or may not end up. That's it for the news. Now, let's get into our last mock draft, help you get the best strategy for all the leagues that you're participating in, baby.
Let's do it. It's going to be a
coughing.
ton of fun. I nailed it. Guys, I nailed it. Don't worry. We got a mock draft for you, as Wes just said. Format here, we are drafting, it's going to be 12 rounds, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, I believe 2 flex, and then 4 bench. So we got 12 rounds here. We randomized. I am drafting from the 102. Wes is drafting from the 110. He is at the turn, which should be pretty exciting here. And I'm pretty close to the turn as well. Pretty far away. Should be able to hear some good analysis for what we've got going on. It's going to be a fun time. Before we jump into that, though, we just want to talk about mock drafts in general. There's a lot of strategies you can do. There's things you can go for, stuff like that. You got the 0 RB strategy. You got where in 0 RB, you're choosing, you know what? I'm loading up on other talent besides my running back here. And through the first 6 or 7 rounds, you decide to forego the running back position and try and make up with that with some high upside players later down the road. So you got the 0 RB strategy. You got the early QB strategy if you're reaching for Patrick Mahomes or Jalen Hurts, somebody like that in the first couple rounds. It's going to be a fun time. We're going to do a couple of different things here, but most importantly, we want to just make sure we are going over our strategy as we're doing this. You know, it's easy to just pick a player, stuff like that, but we want to just do some analysis on why we're picking that player and kind of what we're looking at here as we go through the draft. So, without further ado, we are going to, and now we're down here, you guys. You can see above us, we got that draft board. Excuse me. It is going to be a blast. We're going to go ahead and start things out here with our final 4th and Troll Fantasy mock draft for the season. Without further ado, as I mute Sleeper so it doesn't make any loud noises for us.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
We will begin. Are you sure you want to start the draft? Of course I am. We've been waiting on this for ages.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Alrighty, so we started out. We see Justin Jefferson go at the 101. No surprise there. Well, you know what I'm thinking here is that in our first mock draft we did, I vowed that I was going to go the 0 RB route this year. But just to switch things up, because he came to me, because he fell to me here, I'm going to take Christian McCaffrey at the 102. He's going to be absolutely fantastic and worth that pick. No doubt. He is going to be next level, as he always is. Don't worry about injuries, guys. It's a no-brainer right there for me. In this mock draft, I'm taking Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
We then see Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, then Travis Kelce off the board at the 105. We got Austin Eckler at the 106, Cooper Kupp at the 107. Saquon Barkley and Stephon Diggs. And Wes, you are sitting at the 110 turn at the 1-2. What are you thinking?
Well, let me just say the odds of Bijan Robinson falling to the 110 is a miracle to me.
Pretty rare.
I sure love this guy. And I don't have a problem with him going 6th overall. So, but here's something that you have as well with your second pick overall. And I'm at the turn, the 10th. I'm going to go back to back. This is where that strategy comes in because I'm not going to get a pick for 20 turns. So what's important to me now? What am I looking for? And this is really, I would say, Noah, that our opinion on when to do the mock drafts. When should you start doing mock drafts in the offseason? The answer is yesterday. Because this is where it's important to know who's in the rounds, which kind of positions are in round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5, and etc. Because as you and I have mentioned, we hate round 5. There's nobody that we like there. So we have to strategize around who is there in that 5th round so we don't completely ruin our teams. So with that in mind, I know based on the sleeper format, which players are exactly where in round 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to stick with Bijan because what a blessing that is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also going to probably go with a wide receiver. And I know that I've got Amon-Ra ranked higher than I've got CD and AJ Brown or Devontae Adams. But man, it makes no difference at this particular point here for the draft. The point is, I want to go with a wide receiver because I'm not going to get a really good one for a long time. If you wanted, you could go back-to-back running backs, but that's, again, based on where you are in your pick, where do you see the opportunities in the 4th, 5th round, stuff like that. But I'm going to go A.J. Brown because I'm starting to like him a lot more than I did when we first did our rankings.
Yeah, A.J. Brown is going to be really good this year. Definitely, for sure. Off the board next, we see Nick Chubb, CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams, and then his teammate Josh Jacobs there. Excuse me, in the middle of the 2nd round, which I have not seen him go that early yet this year. So he's usually falling towards the end of the 2nd round because of that holdout news. Maybe he's already just jumping up even more because of that signing. We then see Patrick Mahomes, Derrick Henry, and then your guy Amon-Ra St. Brown. I am on the clock here. And
Team 3 is going to win already. That's
Jamar Chase and Amon-Ra St. Brown. There you go. Yeah.
Gosh.
I'm on the clock here, and I've got a guy here that I'm looking at that I think is going to be absolutely fantastic this year. He's going to take a big leap because he's got a 4-time MVP as his quarterback now. Because I've taken an elite running back, I do think I can take an elite wide receiver now to kind of balance that just a little bit. I'm going to grab Garrett Wilson as my wide receiver 1.
Great pick.
And I feel very good about that. We then see Josh Allen and Jalen Waddle go at the turn, who I would have been tempted on if he had gotten back to me at the 3-2. But I'm going to do something here that I don't usually do. And I'm going to take a quarterback here in the 3rd round. And I'm going to take Jalen Hurts because he is that dude.
Awesome.
He is a guy where I'm looking at my team and I'm going, I could go Pollard. I could go Jonathan Taylor. It's a little risky. I'm feeling like I feel okay about some of the running backs that are going to come later and definitely some of the wide receivers that are going to come later. So I'm just going to round it out and take my quarterback here, get 3 elite guys, in my opinion. I'm going to take Jalen Hurts as my quarterback at the 3-2 for fun.
Yeah,
And
really
real
quick,
this way.
Yeah. And you don't have to reach just yet on your turn of the draft because you have some amazing league-winning talent right there. You don't need to just yet go and look into the next round on your pick before it takes like 7 years for your next draft pick. So you've got 3 elite talent right away. So we're about to get to our reaches.
We're about to get to our reaches here, especially when you're picking at the turn. You got to go after your guys. So I get that for sure. After Jalen Hurts goes Tony Pollard, Chris Olave, Jonathan Taylor at the 3-5, Ramondre Stevenson at the 3-6. Our second tight end, Mark Andrews, off the board at 3-7. And then we see T. Higgins and Devontae Smith go at the 3-8 and 3-9, a couple elite wide receiver 2s. And Wes, you are back at the 3-4 turn. What are you thinking here?
So for my rankings, although I'm very high on Joe Burrow, I am not tempted to get a quarterback just yet because I know that there's an opportunity to maybe Trevor Lawrence falls to me when it comes back around to the 5th. If not, I've already talked about how I feel just fine taking Tua and Geno when it gets to the later portion of the draft itself. I know that right now here in the draft, so the next few that we can kind of see on the screen, Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, DK Metcalf, and then Calvin Ridley, Jahmyr Gibbs. I really like all of them, but if we were to scroll down, I can list a couple of these other players here. Deebo Samuel, Joe Mixon, Breece Hall, Keenan Allen, Kenneth Walker, Aaron Jones. I am not high on any of them. So it's important to consider what positions are available when it gets to the next pick. So I'm going to consider reaching, although it would depend who was taken because, I am super high on Calvin Ridley. So I'll just make that definitive choice there because it's the same as the 4th round pick. And for me, it's a toss up between Najee Harris and Jahmyr Gibbs. I like them both.
I dare you to bank
double
on the
rookies.
I dare you to bank on the rookies.
So there is rookie running backs are so successful in this league. I have no problem taking Jahmyr Gibbs. I'll do it for the pod, but I will say I got a little more excited after watching Najee in the last preseason game. I'm feeling really good about him being a top 10 player again, but I also really like Jahmyr Gibbs on the line, so I'll make that choice there. Taking him in the 4th.
Jahmyr Gibbs at the 4-1, and then Deebo Samuel at the 4-2. Oh, Keenan Allen sniped right there at the 4-3. I was hoping he'd come back to me. DK Metcalf at the 4-4, and then a run of 3 running backs, Najee Harris, Breece Hall, and Joe Mixon. And then we see Lamar Jackson off the board, and I am back here at the 4-9. And I got to say, I am not loving this draft pick position right here. It is tough. We're entering the 5th round, and as we've said, my goodness, the 5th round is rough, man. It is a little bit difficult.
No shame in reaching.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking. I'm not going to feel like I need to take Travis Etienne or I need to take Kenneth Walker or Aaron Jones because those guys are here and I only have one running back. That's not what I'm going to go for here. I don't feel like that's something I have to do just because they're sitting there. I'm here at the 4-9 and I don't pick for 18 picks after I make my next selection. So I know I'm going to reach on the guys that I want to get here. And there's somebody that I'm coming around to a little bit. And it's a little bit scary. But I think that Dameon Pierce might be really good this year. A rookie quarterback and CJ Stroud tends to need a good run game to feel more comfortable and stuff like that. And I think they want to establish that. And after watching the preseason games and seeing his usage and he being the sole person taking snaps with the first team offense, I feel pretty good about Dameon Pierce being a decent player for fantasy football this year. He had the most yards per game out of all the rookie running backs last year. I think he's very talented. And, little note, he dropped weight this offseason, which I feel like is always exciting to see from these power back guys, because they're like, hey, Rex Burkhead's gone, man. I think you need to step up and be a little bit more of a pass catcher, just a little bit. I like seeing these guys drop weight. And he's an angry runner, so he's a lot of fun to watch. So I'm going to reach here for a running back just because I want to lock up one more guy here. I'm going to get Dameon Pierce.
And that's your second running back. And you need another good starter because you took Jalen Hurts in the third instead of Pollard.
Right.
Or Stevenson.
Correct. Yeah. I went ahead and went Jalen Hurts there, took a top quarterback, so I'm going to fill in those positions of need now with good value here. And I'm looking here, and I'm seeing somebody that just makes me happy. And a guy that I'm fine to reach on and feel good about reaching on. And it is tight end for the New York Giants, Darren Waller. I'm going to grab Darren Waller here at the 5-2. I think Darren Waller has a fantastic year. If you've been following us on social media, and if you remember our Top 10 Tight Ends podcast, he was my tight end 3. And I think he has a chance to even be the tight end 2, depending on how the season plays out. So I think he's well worth a pick. If you want to reach for him, go for it. Not tempted by TJ Hawkinson, not tempted by George Kittle. I think Darren Waller is going to be that dude. So I'm going to take him there at the 5-2. We see here as we go on at the 5-3, Kenneth Walker, and then Justin Fields at the 5-4. Jerry Jeudy at the 5-5. People aren't swayed by that injury he's going through.
Team 5 isn't.
Team 5 isn't for sure. Us as people, we might be. Joe Burrow at the 5-6, DeAndre Hopkins at the 5-7.
Look at Team 6 real quick. Nothing but running backs. I don't recommend that.
Just all the testosterone in the world. Just angry. What an angry team.
Team 7 is the complete flip side.
Team
That's
7
hilarious.
is like, we're going PPR heavy here. At the 5-8, we see Justin Herbert, and then at the 5-9, Team 9 doubles up on some 49ers skill players with George Kittle. And Wes, you are back at the 5-6 turn. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling really good, actually, because I've got 3 players that I like very much, just all around. They're all top 15 in some way, and I have my choice of 2 of them from those 3. Now, what I want to emphasize first is I'll take the running back that I like a lot, because it's good to have depth. It's good to have a strong starting or startable running back or just a backup in place of your elite players. We know on my team, we know Bijan will be great. AJ Brown will be great. Calvin Ridley, we're really excited, is going to be great again. And Jahmyr Gibbs, we know is going to be great too. I know I can start and win with them, but what happens on the bye weeks? What happens if there is an injury for something? And most importantly, what happens if I draft someone that's going to be elite? And I can get even more value by trading someone on my depth. Now, for me, Alexander Mattison. Because I've got him as RB6.
Come out in a few episodes, and I was waiting for it, and there it is.
I still love him. I still think it's going to be great, and it's definitely worth having a starting running back in the NFL as a backup to your top 2 RBs on your team. Now, I also want to do the same for my wide receivers. I want to start looking at the depth. Now, I know who's coming up. So I know right now is a great chance to get a wide receiver. And a little bit, I'm still willing to reach for running backs in the next couple of rounds because it's important to just keep adding depth. Make sure you've got opportunities to fill in for bye weeks in case of injuries and in case of trade bait as well. Don't forget that opportunity as well. So I've got my choice between DJ Moore, who last episode I said I'm hooked on a feeling because this guy is going to be great in my opinion. I've also got Brandon Ayuk. If I want to reach for Mr. Ayuk, who I think is going to be top 15, you and I both had a chance to share him as an honorable mention when we did our wide receiver rankings. But I'm going to do something different, and I'm going to take Trevor Lawrence because, man, I do believe that I can get some great wide receivers later on. So I'm not too worried about not taking one of these wide receivers. and I want a top 5 quarterback while I still have a chance because nothing else till the 10th round. So I'm taking Trevor Lawrence now.
Yeah. You get to a point where you kind of hit that range of these are my top 5 guys, and outside of the top 5, it'll be pretty similar depending on where I draft at. Trevor Lawrence is probably the last difference maker for your team at quarterback that was on the board there. And at the 6-1, that's fantastic value. So I don't blame you there at all, Wes. After Trevor Lawrence, we saw Amari Cooper, then DJ Moore, Ukachaka, Miles Sanders, and then TJ Hawkinson, the guy you were just talking about, Brandon Ayuk, Terry McLaurin, and then picked way too early, Drake London off the board right in front of me. Thank goodness, so I didn't have to think about taking him.
Oh yeah.
What a terrible pick that was.
Dodged that sweat.
Dodged the bullet there. I'm back on the clock, and I'm looking at my team, and I feel great about Garrett Wilson, but I've only got 1 wide receiver, and I've got 2 starting running backs. So I'm looking here, and I think I'm probably going to end up going double wide receiver here, just looking at my guys that I have
Makes
on
sense.
the board here. And I really do like Geno Smith. I like the Seattle Seahawks. I really like DK Metcalf. And I also really like Tyler Lockett. He is extremely somehow just disrespected every single year. Jackson Smith and Jigba could eat into that work a little bit this year, but I'm really, really liking Tyler Lockett. I think he's going to be very, very good for the 6th consecutive year of going outside probably the top 20 wide receivers, and he is just always inside that top 20. Dude is freaking awesome. I think Tyler Lockett is a great addition, and I feel comfortable with him as my wide receiver too, so I'm going to take him at 6'9". As we come around on the turn, we see Chris Godwin, maybe a top 20 wide receiver, who knows? And then J.K. Dobbins off the board, and I am back here on the clock, and I'm still looking at wide receiver here. I'm looking to see who I've got. I want to be able to solidify some strong pieces here, especially with this being a PPR league, a point per reception league. Wide receivers are valuable. Wide receivers are valuable always, but in a point per reception league, and a place where I could start, 4 wide receivers at once because of the double flex spot, I like that opportunity that I have there. So looking at some of these guys, and man, there's just a guy I cannot get enough of this year. And I could probably wait on him, but I don't know if I want to. I think I want to just lock him up here. I'm going to grab Deontay Johnson of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Deontay Johnson, over 140 targets last year, 0 touchdowns. That is a recipe for a bounce back year. He's being drafted at what I believe his floor is this year, and I really don't think you can do much worse than the Steelers did last year as far as an offense goes. They were very, very slow in pace of play and points per drive and points per game. I think they take a step up, and I think Deontay Johnson is just an absolute athlete, and I think he's going to be very, very good this year. So I'm going to grab Deontay Johnson as my first flex option. After Deontay Johnson, we see Christian Watson off the board, and then Alvin Kamara, DeAndre Swift, Christian Kirk, James Conner, Kyle Pitts, and Cameron Akers. And then, Wes, you are back at the 7-8 turn. What are you thinking here?
Yeah. Well, I just want to comment again about you reaching for Deontay Johnson because that's why you reach. You're not going to have a pick for 18 turns, so get the guy you want. I mean, there's no reason to be embarrassed about well, I skipped over so. It doesn't matter because you know that player is better than everyone else that's going to come around to you by the time you have a next pick. So get the guy that you want and keep building the depth. So I've turned totally into someone that is absolutely reaching all the time because I want my players. So I love the one with Deontay Johnson. I have another opportunity to get someone that you and I both feel is top 5 of the position, and I don't have a tight end. And right there at the top of the board is Dallas Goedert. And man, I don't care that I already have A.J. Brown because I believe in Dallas Goedert that much. I'm either going to get A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert, or I'm going to have Calvin Ridley and Evan Ingram. And I already have Trevor Lawrence. So I've got a stack there. Let me shift over to a different kind of duo and get Dallas Goedert. Back-to-back pick again. Now, a little bit further down on the board here, I believe it goes to about 76, 77. At 79, I would absolutely take Javonte Williams, but I'm going to think about taking a wide receiver because I only have two, and I want to make sure I have some decent depth. And I have been so high on Marquise Brown for so long, but with the quarterback situation, I'm starting to get worried that he may not produce the way that he was when DeAndre Hopkins wasn't there, because that's the reason that he was in our top 15. And
can I tell you, I started to feel this way a couple weeks ago. I was like, oh man, I was mocking and I was taking Marquise Brown frequently. And I started to be like, oh man, I don't know if this is going to work out how I want it to. My logic was, they're going to be down a lot. They're going to be passing a lot. They made some questionable moves as an organization, and I don't know if they want to try to win this year. So I'm not really sure what's going on.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, I do think Josh Dobbs is better than Colt McCoy. So it might be a little bit of a better situation with him if he ends up being the starter, but yeah, it's hard to draft an Arizona Cardinal right now, man. It's tough.
Yeah, it's really tough. So I think if I had taken some wide receivers earlier in my draft than if I had 3 wide receivers, I would be locked in on Javonte Williams. But I think just for total breadth of my team, I'm going to take a shot. No, because I really like George Pickens right now. I really like George Pickens.
Do you?
Yeah, I like him a little more than Mike Williams in this moment because I just am so stoked on how Kenny Pickett is performing. Deontay Johnson is also playing great, and I like that a lot. I'm going to go with Pickens on this.
Wow, that is not something I think I saw coming. You and I haven't talked about this. I did not know you were Diggins the Pickens right there, man. That is quite the character arc, man. We used to be like, dude, George Pickens is just a highlight machine. He doesn't produce, he doesn't do anything.
Last year, absolutely, just a total name brand from preseason. Yeah. But I mean, it's talking about the if I had a wide receiver early, if I already had 3, I wouldn't take Pickens. But I like the Steelers offense so much right now that I think I just want a piece of it. I just want some stock in what's going on in Pittsburgh. So that's why I went with him instead.
I like it. I like the pick there. Next, we see Dak Prescott, and then Rachaad White. Deshaun Watson goes next, and then Michael Pittman Jr., Mike Williams, Isaiah Pacheco, and Dalvin Cook off the board. I'm back on the clock, and I'm glad I'm in this situation because I'm going to take an opportunity to talk about something called reading the board. I'm sitting here still with only 2 running backs. Last episode I talked about I'm buying in on James Cook, Buffalo Bills running back. He's sitting here, and he is 7th in the ADP here. And I'm looking, and maybe I could reach and make sure I lock him up here. But when you are in your drafts, it's important to look around at what's going on around you on your draft board. We see here, you could be here in this situation, maybe looking at a quarterback. But if the person that you are is picking next, or the next couple people are picking in front of you, already have quarterbacks, you can wait. Unless you are playing with some wild people, or in a league that you start 2 quarterbacks or something like that, that you can wait. You can wait because those guys aren't going to take a quarterback, so you can pick another player of value in that situation. So in this situation, I'm at the 1-2 right here, and I'm looking at team 1, and they've got 3 running backs. I've only got 2. I really like James Cook, but I think I can get him. I don't think they're going to take a running back here. So I'm going to take the opportunity to grab a wide receiver that maybe they do take because there's only a couple guys around them here. And I'm going to take somebody that I'm real excited about, and that is Jordan Addison, who is stepping into a huge opportunity for the Minnesota Vikings. Adam Thielen ran over 600 routes last year. Jordan Addison will be stepping into that role. So I'm going to take Jordan Addison as my 4th wide receiver off the board. He will be my 2nd flex. He will be in my starting lineup. So I'm going to grab him there. We see Jordan Addison there as my pick, and then we come back around, and Mike Evans goes off the board, and Evan Ingram. So there we go. As you look around, you read the board. Exactly what I just did. I played the odds game, and I figured James Cook wouldn't go, and I'm going to grab James Cook as my RB3 which I am just stoked about, man. I think he is going to be a top
Oh, yeah.
15 running back this year. I think he's going to be super, super good. And who knows, maybe if I'm wrong on Dameon Pierce, James Cook is somebody that I feel good about slotting in there. Maybe you take a risk earlier, but then James Cook is there for me. So I'm going to take James Cook as my RB3 off the board at the 9-2.
Nice. Nicely done.
Thank you, Wes. I appreciate that. That's going to be my first bench player. I have now filled out my starting roster here. So that's going to be my first bench player. After this, I'm going to be looking just at depth. After that goes Javonte Williams in the 9-3. Javonte Williams in the 9th round is unbelievable, man.
Delicious.
If he's back like we think he could be, he's going to be a huge value. After that, we see Jackson Smith-Njigba, Marquise Hollywood Brown, I almost said Devontae Montgomery, which is just a mouthful of a name. David
So
Montgomery. We see Brandon Cooks off the board, Quentin Johnston, and then Michael Thomas. And Wes, you are back making your third and fourth to last picks in this draft before you get back to the turn there. What are you thinking?
Well, I'm also considering it's time to figure out what's the most important depth piece that I need, because there's a chance that I just say, screw it, I'm going to ruin everybody's draft and I just take Tua. And I just have the 2 top 10 quarterbacks and I just manipulate everybody around me. Or I consider, is it worth having a second tight end right now while I can still get Muth? Maybe I want to buy into what you said about David Njoku being a top 10 tight end. That's something that I don't mind doing right now. And in fact, I think I will, because after them, I'm a little worried about everybody else. If we had more picks, I know the tight end that I would get. If we were going to go further into the drafts, I would get someone else and would wait and take that chance.
We talking
great.
We talking post round 13, Wes?
I think so. Let me just kind of peruse the board here and figure out where he is.
Give me the name.
Yeah. 14th, 15th. It's Sam Laporta of the Detroit Lions.
Dude, Laporta is going to be awesome. He's one of the few rookie tight ends that I'm like, maybe you take a shot here, because he has an opportunity to step into a big role, especially through the first 6 games.
Oh, yeah.
So I like it.
Stay tuned next week for a Thursday night must-start, risky starts, and don't start. Speaking of Sam Laporta, little teaser.
Hey now,
Lions.
little teaser. There you go.
Hey now.
Tune in. Hit subscribe, ring the bell.
He's 14th, 15th round, so I'm not going to be able to take him reasonably at this point. So I'll go with Muth. And now this is where you can start figuring out who are the sleepers. Where do you want to try to capitalize on some of these low value, underappreciated players? A lot of them are going to be wide receivers. That's again why it's important to know the mock draft board as you go through leading up to your official draft, because at this point, I don't want a single running back anymore for the rest of this entire draft, except I think maybe 1 or 2 running backs total, and they're both rookies. So there's still further to go. I think they're also post 12th round. Either way, I'm going to go with someone that you and I both just posted about on social media as a rookie wide receiver that we both love so very much, and that's going to be Zay Flowers of the Baltimore Ravens, because
no.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to play the game and see if he would fall back to me. I wouldn't know what was going to happen here. Oh, man, you are loading up on the AFC North.
I feel good about their skill players, apparently. So I'm taking Flowers. And again, just to add more depth, and it's going to be tough not having a good running back, I'll admit, at this point, unless, someone happens to fall to me that I'm like, I'll take a shot. But that's what it looks like when you try to even out your playing field as you go. So I took Zay Flowers.
Yeah. Don't blame me there. That's a fantastic pick. After Zay Flowers, we see Kadarius Toney, Jamal Williams, A.J. Dillon, Jahan Dotson, and then his teammate Brian Robinson. Split up the Washington Commanders party by David Njoku right there at the 10-7, and then Antonio Gibson there at the 10-8. 3 key Washington Commanders players, all going in the 10th round.
Yeah.
Sam Howell to the moon, I guess. I don't know what's going on here, but we'll see what happens. We are here at the 10-9, and I'm looking, and I know I need running backs. I've got 4 wide receivers. I've got guys that I feel good about there, and there's a guy here that I think is a fantastic value going at this point. It's Chicago Bears running back Khalil Herbert. A RB1 for a football team in the NFL is going at the end of the 10th round, and that is something I cannot pass up on. So I'm going to grab Khalil Herbert as my 4th running back. We then see Tua go off the board at the 10-10, and then Treylon Burks at the 11-1. We're back here, and at this point, we're kind of taking, maybe we'll call them dart throws. These are guys that are going to be bench pieces for you that you're just going to, maybe take a shot, see if they hit, and we'll see what happens there. I am going to get another running back because I know there is a wide receiver I can grab in the 12th round that I feel good about to even out my running backs and wide receivers. I'm going to grab Denver Broncos running back Samaje Perine. I think he is going to play a legitimate role for this team this year. Sean Payton does tend to use 2 running backs in his systems, and I think he could especially be a good plug-and-play at the beginning of the year as they kind of ease Javonte Williams back into things. So I go 3 running backs with my last 3 picks because I feel like there's good value here at the end of the draft, and I just think when I look at things and I know where players are going, I get excited about wide receivers early, and I get excited about the late upside of some of these running backs. So kind of broke them up there into 2 different chunks of going running back and then wide receiver. But that's how it goes. You figure out your draft strategy and you go with it. You do what you think is going to be best for your team. After Samaje Perine, we get Aaron Rodgers, then Kirk Cousins off the board, Elijah Moore, Gabe Davis, Odell Beckham Jr., Rashad Penny, and then Zach Charbonnet. And Wes, you have your final 2 picks of the mock draft right now. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I'm bummed Elijah Moore didn't get to me. That would have been a really nice piece for me.
When I saw him, I almost went, hey, you took Zay Flowers from me. I should take Elijah Moore from you. But I decided to let the computer have it and see what had happened.
What I'm thinking is we're just about to the point in the draft where it almost doesn't entirely matter what the ADP is, because these, just as you said, these are dart throws. These are your sleeper picks. These are players that have a chance to be starters. And if they aren't good, you're not risking anything. You can use them as the swap out for a waiver wire pick. If maybe they have a good week, you can use them to try them out in flex, but you're not risking too much. So I don't really care too much anymore what the ADP is. Like, yes, I see Juju Smith-Schuster's right there, and sure.
You mean you wouldn't take him now?
No, I'm really torn between this, man. I am going to consider another player coming up because I should have another running back here. All right. And again, if we had more rounds, I wouldn't be doing this right away, but I'm going to try to complete my team here because I have 1, 2, 3, 4 wide receivers and I have 3 running backs. I'm okay having 1 more wide receiver than a running back. I'm going to go ahead and take a shot here on Courtland Sutton. I know I said I don't care about the ADP, but he's right there with Jerry Jeudy with a hamstring injury. And you've got KJ Hamler, who has been waived, kind of not in the league right now with his heart condition. And Tim Patrick is out for the season. It's pretty much just Courtland Sutton and Marvin Mims. And, to get someone in the late 11th round, start of the 12th round, that is possibly the wide receiver 1. Yeah, I like him. I like his quarterback more than I like Juju Smith-Schuster's quarterback. I'll say that. So I'll take a shot, take Courtland Sutton, see what happens. Maybe he pans out for me. Maybe he doesn't. No harm, no foul. I've still got Flowers and Pickens that I think are going to be better flex option anyway. And then, as I mentioned, in running back, look, I like Devon Achane a lot. I think that's going to be fun and exciting, but I'm going to go with my favorite preseason player from this year, and that is going to be Tank Bigsby of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I thought he balled out, and there's a chance for him to have some potential work. So, sue me. I've got 3 Jacksonville Jaguars on my team. I feel good about their offense.
Do it. I love it. I think Tank Bigsby is a fantastic pick. I think he's going to be a very, very good player this year, and he's definitely going to beat that ADP for sure. After Tank Bigsby, we see Anthony Richardson and then Juju Smith-Schuster off the board, a couple tight ends and Cole Kmet and Dalton Schultz. We see Geno Smith go off the board in the 12th round at the 12-6. We have Jerick McKinnon at the 12-7, Dalton Kincaid at the 12-8. And I'm sitting here, and I've got 5 running backs. I've got 4 wide receivers. I'm gonna go ahead and just balance out my team here and grab a 5th wide receiver. And I feel pretty good about this guy. I think he is going to be a guy that not many people are maybe thinking about. Again, at this point, it is just dart throws. As you can see, I am scrolling down the list here, and I have reached a guy that I am excited about, and that is going to be Green Bay Packers wide receiver Romeo Doubs. Romeo Doubs is very interesting to me. He seems to have a connection with Jordan Love. The reports out of camp are that he is Jordan Love's favorite target. We just don't know if Jordan Love is going to be a good quarterback in the NFL. So it's a bit of a dart throw here, but I think Romeo Doubs is a guy that showed flashes last year, had a high ankle sprain, kind of fell off a little bit, and then Christian Watson had his kind of surge of fantasy production. So people may not be thinking about Romeo Doubs a whole lot, but he is a guy that I really like and somebody that I'm comfortable taking in the last round of my draft. When it comes to these last round guys, it's kind of those situations where it's like, if he shows promise in week 1, great, then I think I maybe got a good guy. If not, I've got somebody that I think I can, if I need to throw in a waiver claim, this is somebody that I can probably swap out there. Somebody that I think can maybe get rid of at this point, something like that. So Romeo Doubs is the guy that I'm going to grab here. This is my final dart throw to close out my team. And then with the last pick of the draft, we see, if it would load, Allen Lazard go off the board right there. And that concludes it. Look at that. That is what a fun time this has been.
Yeah.
We had a fun mock draft here with you guys. Wes, run down your team with me and let me know who you are rocking with this mock draft.
Okay, I'll go by positions as I work my way down. So my quarterback and only quarterback is going to be Trevor Lawrence. My running backs are Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Alexander Mattison, and Tank Bigsby. My wide receivers are A.J. Brown, Calvin Ridley, George Pickens, Zay Flowers, and Cortland Sutton. And I've got 2 tight ends, Dallas Goedert and Pat Fryer. Feel pretty good. It's not a bad team. That's definitely a playoff team in my opinion. Let's hear yours, Noah.
Well, I'm telling you, I just drafted the best fantasy team you could ever have with the 1-2 spot. Just cut to the part where I was at the 5th round, and I was like, I don't like this draft spot. Listen, excuse me, I feel pretty good about my team here. I've got Jalen Hurts as my quarterback. At running back, I have Christian McCaffrey, Dameon Pierce, James Cook, Khalil Herbert, and Samaje Perine. I've got Garrett Wilson as my top wide receiver, and then Tyler Lockett, Deontay Johnson, Jordan Addison, and Romeo Doubs, and then Darren Waller as my tight end. Best fantasy team ever. There you go. That team would win championships right there if you're asking me. I don't know. Listen, we do this for you guys and for us. We have fun doing this. We do this for you guys so you have a good idea of what to keep in mind as you're walking into draft week, weekend, week leading up to season kickoff, whatever it may be. Keep some of this stuff in mind. We hope we have provided some value. Let us know what kind of draft strategy you think you want to do, what you kind of want to go with. Let us know in the comments. Again, make sure to make Tutty the Troll smile by hitting that subscribe button and ringing that bell too. And then follow us on all our social medias. Make sure, as we've got some exciting stuff coming up for you guys. Join us next Tuesday because we are doing our first game preview of the season. We've got our Thursday night football must starts, risky starts, and don't starts between between the Lions and the Chiefs. And we got something special for you guys, some juicy little nuggets, some what-ifs that we're going to talk about as we launch into the season. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys so much. I'm Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And this has been 4th and Troll Fantasy. 4th and Troll Fantasy is a production of Selby Artistic Workshop.